how we're holding our stick, specifically our top hand. We want those fingers to be on an angle. Okay, a lot of times when we start, especially beginners, you know, you're all fired up to play lacrosse, your fingers are horizontal, you're strangling your stick, it's physically incapable to snap your wrists. Okay, we want to loosen that up. A lot of times a good way to train your fingers is just by getting your index finger on the side of your shaft. It'll force your other fingers to be on a 45. You can see it's kind of a U shape between my thumb and my index finger, and that allows me to snap my wrist. Also, when we're catching the ball, we want to have a nice loose wrist. We don't want the ball popping out of our stick head. So, you know, again, loose wrists, loose fingers. Generally, I'm holding with my top, my index finger, my middle finger, and my thumb. My bottom two fingers are there just for leverage and support, so that we can let the weight of the ball bring the stick head back, and then again, snapping our wrist. When we're snapping our wrist, you know, a good way to know whether you're doing it correctly is having that butt end come to the inside of your elbow. A lot of times when kids practice this, you know, they still hold their stick real tight and they just turn their wrist over. This is not a natural throwing motion or shooting motion. Okay, this is the motion. Okay, so again, it's all about the fingers, that top hand, bottom hand. You know, when I'm throwing the ball, it's really accelerating the stick head through by snapping my bottom hand towards my belly, towards my body. Okay, now let's talk about the cradle. Cradle simply for ball control. You want the ball in the center of your pocket, ready to get the ball out of your stick at a moment's notice. You want the process to be as tiny as possible, and that's why I liken it to a jiggle or a quiver, because if you're looking to throw one way and all of a sudden you see that defender close the gap, you know, you can throw a little fake and then not have another big loopy process to get the ball opposite. Everything is nice and tight. You know, there's going to be times where we need to get it from one hand to the other, and we need to do that as quickly and seamlessly as possible. You know, we don't need to switch hands if we're catching it from one side and there's no defender or stick in this passing lane, so we can just catch and go. But all of a sudden, if you see a defender starting to come out, we need to do three things and synthesize these three movements. And first thing is face dodging it to my opposite ear. Okay, the second thing I want to do is slide my bottom hand up to the middle of my shaft as I face dodge. So face dodge, slide. And then the last thing I want to do is face dodge, slide, and replace. So I'm taking my top hand, replacing it at the bottom. So face dodge, slide, replace. Boom. Face dodge, slide, replace. Face dodge, slide, replace. And notice how the ball is facing my face the entire time. And hiding those hands. Defenders coming out to get to your hands, you want to punch those hands wide. Showing them your inside hip. Boom. Really challenge yourself to go as quickly and smoothly as possible. You can look at yourself in the mirror. Can the defender see any stick? Boom. And get it to where you want to throw from, I think, is one of the biggest things. A lot of times we switch hands, we cradle, we bring it back, we cradle again. Get it to where you want to throw from. A lot of times that defender might be flying out at you, and you know, when you split, you might actually be, you know, checking yourself in essence with his stick in your gut. So we're going to need to roll. So if I reverse things, I'm catching it from my right and I want to switch to my left. I'm going to catch it, punch my hands. Okay, get my hands away from that pressure where he can get under my bottom hand. Get him away, slide that bottom hand up to meet the top, replace top at the bottom. Tiny turn of the wrist for ball control. Get it out. Catch, punch, slide, replace, get it out. The big thing for me is getting your stick head to where you want to throw from. So again, eliminating wasted movement. So when I catch it, I'm going to punch my stick head to where I want to throw from. And another rule of thumb is if your butt end is pointed at that imaginary defender, that means that he can't see your stick head. Okay, so if I'm catching it from my left and I punch and slide. You can't see my stick, it's protected. Now I can safely paddle. All right, behind the backs, getting sneaky. The big thing is when we catch the ball, you know, starting with our hands, we just want to rotate our stick head 180 degrees so our stick head is actually facing our head. And then when we swivel our hips and get our hands around, then our stick head is facing the right location. Now, what about our hands? The big thing is when we catch it and we swing our stick around 180 degrees, is a lot of the motion is with our top hand. You know, we can go just a snap of the wrist, and notice how I'm squeezing my stick a little bit more than I would. You want to have it a little bit firmer for this motion. And then also with my bottom hand, really what I'm doing is I'm catching it, rotating, and then I'm punching out with my bottom hand to accelerate the stick head through, kind of similar to how I would snap my bottom hand towards my body just for a normal pass. So catch it, rotate, boom. It's really similar to a BTB behind the back in terms of, you know, our top hand, our stick head is facing our body, and we can punch with our bottom hand and snap with our top hand. So, you know, in traffic, obviously you want to get that hand up by the throat if you're a pole. You know, I think a lot of times we want to scoop into that low cradle, get ball control early. But if you see somebody to your right, if you're a righty, you know, scooping into this cradle, just giving them a little shovel is a really effective way to get the ball moving off the ground.